coconut girl aesthetic. Welcome to A Study of Style, the new series on this channel where we take a look at a specific fashion aesthetic and do our best to break it down. In today's episode, we'll be examining the coconut girl aesthetic, what it is, how it came to be, and its identifying features. Let's get into it. Unless you're active on TikTok, there's a high chance that you'll have absolutely no idea what this aesthetic is, which is understandable because it's definitely one of those things that only the chronically online would be able to identify and recognize. Sometimes referred to as the Malibu Barbie look or the Key West kitten, the aesthetic first began making the rounds on TikTok in April 2021 in the form of mood boards. Crucially, right before the summertime rolled around, the season the coconut girl most clearly evokes and references. After gaining popularity on the app, the coconut girl was covered by several mainstream media outlets from Nylon to The Tab, and it was declared the viral aesthetic of summer 2021. But we have to wonder, is the coconut girl destined for greatness, or is it doomed to be forgotten as quickly as it came? Since its popularization, many have chalked up the coconut girl's rise in popularity to nostalgia, as well as a desire for simpler and easier times. You know, when we weren't dealing with a pandemic? Lydia Venn wrote for The Tab that the aesthetic was, quote, all about chilled out vibes. You can basically picture the girl already. She's tanned, probably blonde, and never wears shoes. She spends all her time on the beach, takes Polaroids, uses the dolphin emoji, eats a lot of fruit, and has glitter stick-on tattoos. Carrera Kernick, Director of Culture and Consumer Insights at Fashion Snoops, shared similar sentiments, saying, quote, the coconut girl trend is a product of post-COVID dreaming and youthful summer optimism. After all, who doesn't want to be the girl with the coconut smiling for pictures on a tropical vacation? While the style can visually be traced back to the early 2000s with shows like H2O, The OC, and Zoe 101, or movies like Aquamarine, Blue Crush, and Love Wrecked, the coconut girl's moniker is a recent creation. I probably would have called it the Roxy girl look growing up. Compared to other popular aesthetics like punk, e-girl, or goth that employ more dystopian styles along with darker colors, the coconut girl depicts a more lighthearted, carefree, and optimistic outlook with its maximalist patterns and youthful zeal. The aesthetic is candy-coated, sunscreen-scented nostalgia that instills a carefree, childlike wonder in the wearer. The coconut girl is perpetually in a state of summertime, never worrying about anything except the next trip to the beach. Overall, it calls back to a simpler time, when you were on an island vacation or a family cruise perhaps. It's the epitome of breezy beachiness. The style influences for the aesthetic are actually quite obvious. At its core, the coconut girl is the combination of the outdoorsiness of the popular Visco girl aesthetic of the late 2010s with a heavy dose of 2000s influence alongside contemporary fashion trends. While 2000s style is fairly polarizing, especially for those like myself who actually lived through it the first time around, there's no denying that Gen Z have been extremely taken with the fashion of the era, something we've seen time and time again with fashion's 20-year rule. And an interesting aspect of the coconut girl aesthetic and the 2000s resurgence as a whole is that it subverts the narrative that Gen Z and millennials are always at odds. You could even interpret the coconut girl's popularity as admiration of the older generation, much like how millennials were fascinated with 90s grunge in the mid-2010s. If you've seen my video on 2000s fashion trends, then you already know what's been making a comeback. But comparatively, the coconut girl is much more specific with what 2000s trends it takes influence from. The defining features of the coconut girl aesthetic are color, silhouette, and pattern. Not only will you see an emphasis on brighter, more saturated colors like hot pink, turquoise, and bright orange, but maximalist patterns that call back to childhood are a must. Because the coconut girl is meant to epitomize summer vibes, understandably, much of the clothes are on the more revealing side, the better to tan with. Let's briefly take a look at some items that are popularly associated with the aesthetic. Terry cloth. If you're always at the beach, you might as well start wearing your towel. The absorbent cotton fabric is beginning to be incorporated into other articles of clothing like rompers and dresses in a clear ode to the summertime. It does seem like a better alternative than wet denim. Crochet. As previously mentioned, the coconut girl aesthetic is heavily influenced by popular 2020s trends in general, and there's no denying that with the rise of DIY, crochet has been making a hell of an impact. While traditional knit is more heavily associated with colder weather, crochet is still easily wearable in warmer seasons. I personally prefer covering up, even though I quite literally live in the tropics, so crochet hat or bag is a simple way of incorporating the trend into my wardrobe in a way that makes sense for my personal style philosophy. Airbrush. A mainstay of piers and boardwalks, the airbrushing art form has seen a recent revitalization due to the mass appeal of DIY and customization. If you have a white cropped tee that you used to love but don't wear that often anymore, why not give it a new life with a cute graphic upcycle that not only shows a bit of personality, but can be worn in any season? Hibiscus print. I talked all about large flower prints in my 2021 trends prediction video, so I'm not at all surprised to see how popular hibiscus print has become within the coconut girl aesthetic. However, unlike a lot of other florals, I find hibiscus somewhat less versatile, as they inherently call back to the summer, as opposed to, say, roses or daisies, which seem more timeless. On a side note, please don't refer to aloha print as Hawaiian print. They're not at all the same thing. Abstract patterns. Another trend that's popped up recently due to the 70s revival, it's no surprise that the coconut girl has taken it in stride considering how much inspiration the early 2000s took from that era. The key here is finding an abstract pattern that utilizes color as much as possible while still having enough neutrals to be easily worn with other items. A scarf is an easy enough place to start, but don't be afraid of a statement dress either. Tie-dye. This trend has been around for the last few years, and it's no surprise that it's continuing to thrive within the coconut girl aesthetic, considering tie-dye is not only DIY-able, but immediately brings back memories of childhood activities. Halter tops. During the 2000s to 70s craze, halters were all the rage, and I personally couldn't be happier to see them make a comeback. If you're looking to invest and experiment in a few coconut girl-inspired pieces, I would suggest halters, not only because you can dress them up or down, but also because it's guaranteed to look trendy for years to come. Salongs. Sure, denim shorts are a classic, but there's something so cool about a wrapped skirt in the summertime. You can find just about any large scarf and make this work, so it's worth trying out. Shell accessories. Creative youth-inspired jewelry has been on the up and up, with colorful beads, pearls, and charms being heavily featured. Shell accessories are just an offshoot of that. Flower accessories. The tropical inspiration can even be as subdued as a simple flower hair clip or ring. This is an easy way to add coconut girl flair to any outfit. Temporary tattoos. Bonus points if it's glitter, a butterfly, or a dolphin. Like many aesthetics that find popularity on TikTok, it's important to discuss the dangers of the quickly accelerating trend cycle. When these new aesthetics pop up, many people, especially those who are younger and have yet to develop their own style philosophies, are easily swept up by them and in some ways feel pressured into staying on trend. This contributes to overconsumption, a problem that has plagued the fashion industry for years, but is growing at an exponential rate due to the rise of fast fashion retailers like Shein and AliExpress. Aesthetics like the coconut girl have the potential to promote this overconsumption, but you as the consumer have the ability to make it last and thrive. The coconut girl aesthetic can be easily incorporated and experimented with items already in your closet. There's no need to buy hundreds of dollars worth of items to fulfill your latest fashion fascination. A tip I have when it comes to any aesthetic or trend is to first identify what you actually like to wear, regardless of what the industry or influencers tell you is trending. Look at the items already in your closet that you gravitate towards and determine where there's overlap with the new trend. Do you typically wear neutrals? Then instead of going bright and bold and winding up with items you probably won't wear more than once or twice, why not try looking for an abstract pattern top that does have the colors that you like? Fashion is about self-expression, and there's nothing wrong with experimenting with something new if it genuinely speaks to you. Just consider how to incorporate it into your wardrobe and be mindful of what pieces you actually want to invest in. There's also another dark side to the coconut girl aesthetic that's rarely talked about. Because it glamorizes tropical locations, it can contribute to over-tourism and the oppression of indigenous people. It's important to be mindful when traveling to other places to be considerate of the land, its people, and its culture. It's not just an aesthetic or a cute Instagram picture, it's real. What are your thoughts on the coconut girl aesthetic, and what aesthetic should we cover next? I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!